Hello, I'm Jennifer Lammers. I'm an artist here in Oregon, and I'm here to share with you about my art making practice, how I have gone from being a painter for the last 15 years and moving into more of a mixed media and fiber arts realm of art making. I hope you will find some inspiration and encouragement. Enjoy looking into a studio practice and what that entails over the coming year. Today, I'm hoping to share with you why I've chosen to move into a mixed media and fiber arts direction with my art, and also what my swatch project is, which is the catalyst for a lot of the larger projects I'm doing, and what it was over the last year, how it developed, and what I'm looking for it to become in 2023. And also how I plan to share that with you via Patreon. So I'm going to talk about what that is, how I plan to use it, and how you can join me. My mixed media experiences started with using stamps and different pattern making techniques to add some texture and depth to my paintings. And since then, it has evolved into everything from embroidery to knitting to other forms of fiber art to paper making, every tool that has meaning to my work. I love the tradition in fiber arts and the generational knowledge that gets passed through the teaching of it and through the making of it. It's something that has definitely been a part of most of my life and something I will continue to enjoy for many years to come. With the fiber arts, I also love this mastery of skill element where it takes a lot of practice and dedication to be able to create the type of stitches or the type of work that you want to create with it and use it in a way that's meaningful to you and your art. I've really been fully engaged with finding ways to use fiber arts in my work more and more. As I progressed with my fiber arts and especially knitting skills, swatching became a big part of my practice for creating sweaters or other garments that really affected my desire to want to use something similar in my art practice. Last year, I started what I call the Swatch Project, and that project was intended to help me build skills that I needed, to rethink materials, and to just have some motivation to keep me making and creating and thinking about my art in a different way throughout the year. So 2023 is here, and I am rethinking how I want to do this project, figuring out how I want to create the swatches and how I want to use them in larger work and use what I learn in larger work. I'm hoping to create these swatches, but have some sort of organizational aspect to them, and using them as more of a studio journal. I'm hoping this will keep me motivated month to month and week to week. Some of my larger projects going forward in 2023, I'm continuing some of the ones I started right before the beginning of last year. A triptych that was called Uncharted Territory, a culmination of all the skills I'm gaining and the decisions I'm making in my art are showing through all the different aspects of this piece. And another of my larger projects has to do with astrological signs, the imagery that they evoke, and using fiber arts to illuminate the beautiful and nuanced aspects of the imagery itself. And finally, I have been very enthusiastic about the paper making and molding I've been doing from last year, and the botanical prints I've been making, and the organic nature of both of those types of materials and concepts and how they can come together. In my studio practice overall, I am trying to think about my practice in terms of themes more this year instead of specific goals that I want to achieve, how I'm going to use those to propel my art and also to keep me motivated and focused in my work while still developing skills. So some of those things that I'm using for my themes for this year our growth. I've always been a proponent of continual learning and making sure that we're always growing personally and also with our art. And so I'm going to continue that theme this year. I'm also using the theme of resolve to help motivate me and keep me focused in my practice. I have a lot of projects that go partially done, maybe minimally done, unfinished. And I want to use that theme to encourage me to look at things I've done in the past, consider how I might be changing them or doing them in the future, and just show some resolve in commitment to my work. I'm also thinking about rhythm as an organizational tool. I certainly enjoy creating rhythm within my pieces when I paint. It is definitely a theme within my work overall, but I also want to think of it in terms of strategy with keeping myself motivated again. Finding a rhythm in what we do on a daily and a weekly basis, I think will really help in finding a way to continue my work in a meaningful way. Last year I focused on a lot of different skills. I focused on learning a lot of new things, new materials, new techniques. And this year I'm going to pull into one of those and really hone into the idea of visible mending as a task and skill I want to learn and develop more strongly. I think it's amazing what you can do with that in terms of longevity of pieces of items in our life, in artwork. Just the idea that you can show what you're doing to keep something together in an artful way. I think it's a beautiful goal to have and a beautiful thing to do. And I am looking forward to learning all the different techniques for doing that. And my final theme for the year, which is most important to me and something that I've kind of skirted throughout the years and hadn't really embraced completely, is intention. Everything I do this year, I'm going to be thinking about how I want to use that in my art and the choices I make in everything in my art, from my materials to the techniques to the subject matter. And I think that's going to be the biggest element of change in my work from painting to mixed media, is that element of intention, fully and completely thinking about my art in that way. Now, some of you already know that all these things that I'm doing in my studio, even though I do them quietly in my little Oregon home studio, I also share them online on Patreon over the past year. I started using Patreon as a means to open up my studio at a time when the pandemic was still full raging, and going out into the world to meet with people in person was not as possible. But I just enjoyed that means of opening up my studio in a public way. It was just kind of a softer way for me to work with my studio practice and share it with the world at large. So I continue to want to do that and continue to find ways to share my art, and Patreon has been the easiest, most effective way for me to do that. And probably the biggest question I got at in-person events this year was, what is Patreon? It is, to me, a lifeline for my art making. As with many other creators, it's a platform for creators of all types to share what they do and share something to the public, and take in subscriptions to support that work. My particular studio is set up on there as first of the month billing cycle. I have a $3 per month subscription plan. It gives you all the content that I provide online. You can also just follow without paying any subscription. You won't receive all the content, you'll just receive some of it. I welcome anyone who wishes to follow, anyone obviously who wishes to join with a subscription. I just hope to have more people there to share my practice and my process with you, to hopefully give more meaning to the work that I put out into the world in the form of art. I hope by sharing in this way, by including the process that I go through in my studio, in my journals, in my art materials. I hope that can demystify the whole concept of being an artist, what a studio practice is, and what does someone do as a professional artist. So I'm hoping being a part of Patreon will enable that for my viewers and followers and subscribers. Thank you for being here. I hope you will consider joining me in my studio practices this year and maybe stop in just once in a while, or you can join me weekly with all my journal notes and images that I post on there. I hope my work can inspire, and I hope you join me on this creative journey in your own way. There's also other ways you can join me on other platforms, such as Instagram. I also write short articles on my Substack page, which is an Artist Notes, or you can follow me via my newsletter, which I publish roughly monthly, available on my website, jenniferlaumers.com. I welcome your creative spirit, your insight, and your enthusiasm for art making. I hope you'll join me, and I hope you have a great start to your 2023. I think it's going to be a great year, and I hope it is for you too.